Hey everyone, welcome back. Today's comparison video is going to be Gyeon Mohs Evo and Crystal Serum Light. Now this has the Obsessed Garage label. It's still Crystal Serum Light, which comes in the original white label. These are all the coatings I've used throughout that I've saved. You know, I have, of course, I didn't save some of the empty containers, but I saved some of them. These are the glass bottles here. So here's the Crystal Serum Light. I was kind of going through this. So again, these are some of the older ones. I still have some full bottles in the house, and there's different coatings in here. C-Quartz 2.0. There's EXO V3 in here. I have some 22 PLE coatings in here. So there's plenty of different coatings in there. I just want to I was just looking for that one to show you that this version is what comes in this version. It just has the Obsessed Garage label, and I also had the Obsessed Garage EXO V4. So let's just get right to it. If you guys want to know more in depth on Gyeon Mohs Evo, I have a video. You guys can just look at that. I'll post the link up above. But essentially, the reason I'm comparing these two is because Gyeon aimed Mohs as the competitor to Crystal Serum Light. So they're trying to take users of Crystal Serum Light. They'll be familiar using Mohs, and so again, that's the competitor. Priced about the same. Between these two coatings. I'll post all that, links to each product down below in the description. So we're going to take a look at these two in comparison to how they are to apply and how they are to in terms of hydrophobic. So that's pretty much it. So we're going to do these two in comparison, and then the following one is going to be Gyeon Pure Evo and C-Quartz UK, because Gyeon aimed Pure to compete with C-Quartz UK. Hopefully that makes sense. This is a quartz-based coating to kind of aim that. So we're going to look at these two as well in a future video here. So we're going to look at these two at the moment. I'm going to go ahead and put these in the coating caddy. I've already prepped the hood here. I'm going to use the red one because the silver one still has some other coatings on there that I'm waiting for them to cure. And I ended up just using CarPro Fixer. Again, I'm just using this up because I'm not using this on any vehicle. Rather than having it take up space in the cabinet, I'm just using this up. So we're going to just use that. Panel prepped with surface prep from Meguiar's M122. So I'm going to go ahead and turn the camera down just a bit here so you guys can actually see. Let me just adjust it here. So we're going to go ahead and get to it. I'm just going to use a coating saver sheet here that I've cut. So we'll use one side for each coating. Again, this has the barrier in here, so it's not going to get cross-contaminated. So we're going to take this, and we're going to take Gtechniq Crystal Serum Light. Now this one is actually still good. One way to tell if this version, if Crystal Serum Light has gone bad on you, is if it's starting to discolor and you start seeing things floating in there. This one actually is still pretty good. I kept this at a light, and I've sealed it pretty tight. The one when you buy from Obsessed Garage, it does have they put the stopper in there, which is kind of cool, rather than the one you get from Gtechniq. I don't know, I haven't bought a coating from Gtechniq in a while, so I'm gonna go ahead and just dribble some on here. Whoa, I forgot how open this was. So this is more than enough. Let's get the edges here and make sure that we have enough coating on here. I'll clean the top up after I finish. And Crystal Serum Light is one of the easiest coatings to work with. I'm going to use this Kirkland towel, which I'm going to junk. So Crystal Serum Light is one of the easiest coatings to work with. It goes on real easy, and when it starts to flash, you'll see the sweating effect from it. Man, I put a little bit too much on this applicator, so let me just kind of thin this out a bit. Go one more pass here. Okay. Be left with a high spot in there. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and let that set up in there. I'm not going to do any. I'll just put this away. I'm not going to do any sort of timing as to when to let you know when it's ready. I'm going to take the camera off my head here, and I'll just bring you in. So you can actually see Crystal Serum Light. You can actually see it start to separate here. That's the sweating effect you get from it. So this shows it perfectly right now. You can see it right on the light. on both sides. So once this will separate a little bit more is when I'm going to go ahead and wipe this off. So I'm kind of just waiting for this to separate a little bit more. I applied a little thicker, so it's going to take a little bit more. So once you start seeing that across the coating, I'm going to inspect it up here. I'll just wait a little bit longer because again I applied it a little thick. Once you start to see that, it's real easy to wipe off. And Gyeon Mohs does the same thing. So you can actually see it over here. Right in this area, you can see it's got that sweating effect. It's completely separated here because it's applied thin in that spot. And you're starting to see it across different areas of the panel. So I'm trying to look up way up there. And so once you start to see this is when you can go ahead and start wiping it off. So I'm going to let it sit for just another few seconds here. And I'm going to go ahead and wipe it off with the Kirkland towel. So you can see how that's completely separated here. Again, okay, so it's ready. So one of the easiest coatings to work with. And again, I applied it a little too thick. So I'm going to take this towel here, flip it over, and then just buff it off. It's real easy to work with. Like I said, it's one of the easiest coatings you're going to work with. And the way it tells you how it flashes with that sweating effect is real nice. It's a visual indication letting you know, hey, I'm ready to be wiped off, and rather than the typical rainbow. Okay, so I think that's done, but it feels so slick under the towel. So I'm going to go ahead and put this back in my head here. And we'll get with Gyeon Mohs Evo here. Okay, just get this all situated here. So what I'm going to do is, because this is a saver sheet, I'm going to go ahead and flip it. Again, this has the barrier in there, so it's not going to leak. So I'm going to go ahead and shake this Gyeon Mohs Evo up here. I flip my towel to two other sides. So I'll try to put a similar amount of coating on here. This, like I said, I actually like this version of Mohs a lot better. They did a fantastic job with this version. Than the previous versions. I'll go over it one more time. Okay, and go ahead and put this down. Take this off my head here. And you can see that this one it's actually flashed a lot faster. This coating is ready to be wiped off already. It immediately separated into the beads here. So this thing's ready to be wiped off, and I'm just going to inspect it. Oh yeah. I don't know if it can actually show on here, but through the light. This one was ready to be wiped off almost instantly. So again, just take your towel. I'm going to flip it over to the other side, and we're going to just wipe it off. And you're wiping off the carriers. All right. So I'm going to tell you what, I thought this coating was slick. I'm actually going to flip over the towel to a cleaner side. I wanted to play around with the with it here. Okay, so I have it just the other side. Okay, so it does feel slick. CSL is just a tad slicker. So, I mean, they're very comparable. You would not be able to tell. Pop that in there. So I'm gonna pop this back on my head. So Crystal Serum Light gets the edge in slickness. Flash time, of course, yeah, it's going to set up longer. I'm going to take this glove off. It's going to set up longer with Gtechniq Crystal Serum Light. I did apply it kind of thick, so I'm going to go ahead and take this off here. And the reason I'm taking this off is because I want to see if these coatings have added anything to to the mix here in terms of look. I'm actually going to take that towel and wipe off the excess around the edges here. The reason I'm doing that is because some of the coating will seep under the tape line and it will create a high spot, and it's kind of a pain in the butt to wipe off, to polish them off. Flip this over. Okay. That's one of the things when I do the coating test on my car, I have to pull the tape line up, pull the tape line off like this over each section, and then just kind of, you know, go over the edges, because if I don't, it's gonna leave me with a nice high spot in there, and I don't want those high edges. Okay, flip this over to this side. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and kind of just visually inspect it here in the naked eye. Okay, so I see the tape line here. I can see CSL. I can see Mohs. Let me take this light here. See if I can tell a difference here. Okay, so I think you can see it. So let me just take the camera off my head here. So right in the center is the tape line. So if we go over here, I'm looking at CSL, and I go over here to Mohs, and I'm going to give them, they're very comparable. I'm going to give the edge to darkening. I'm going to give it to CSL just by a tad. I'm just kind of inspecting it. So I'm going to give the edge to darkening to Crystal Serum Light here. Again, it's not the this light is not the one I should be using. I should be using diffused lighting on there, but I'll come on just showcase the appearance. It's really hard to see on this red paint, you know, in person, but I can actually see a difference, and I'm going to give it to Crystal Serum Light as having the edge and looks in terms of darkening, I should say, so just by a bit. And then in terms of slickness, I mean, they feel very close. I'm going to give it to CSL for slickness and darkening, and Mohs is just like it's just right there. So I'm just go ahead and put that there, and I'm pretty much done with this preparation. So the next part's going to be the hydrophobics of each coating. We'll let these set up for a week. And then I'll come and do the hydrophobic test. So just add some water on here, and then just add some soap. Go over it a couple times and kind of just see if it removes any excess carriers that still may be lingering around. But I mean, yeah, I can really tell, because I actually use when I use that fixer, which is a medium cut compound. This hood is on the is like soft to medium, and so it will induce some hazing, and I can actually see the hazing here from the polish, the pad and the polish, and so I see the line of the coatings here, so I can actually see the saturation that these coatings add to the paint. And they both, like I said, I mean, we're splitting hairs here. They're so close. I would say that, you know what, I'm gonna take it back. I think it's a tie between the two in terms of darkening. They're right there. But the slickness, I'm going to give it to CSL just by a bit here. So hopefully that helps. Sorry I can't give you a better look, but we'll pull the hood out and kind of see what it looks like outside. Hydrophobic test, and that's pretty much it. And hopefully this gives you an idea of how these two coatings compare with each other. From what I remember, Mohs Evo is more hydrophobic than CSL, but again, we'll take a look at it. Maybe once I see it compared between the two, then I can actually see if they're comparable, or if this is better. I remember this being better, and I remember this being a little bit more towards sheeting. But again, we'll take a look at these, And then after that, the next one's going to be Gyeon Pure and Evo and Sequartz UK 3.0. So we'll take a look at those two, and we'll see how comparable those two are in terms of overall performance. So again, thanks for watching, and we'll catch you on the next one. All right, hey everyone, I'm going to come back with a little thing here. We're going to test slickness of the coating. So I have two carpro blocks here, and then just looking at it from this angle here, I wonder if I can get it on the camera here. The darkening between each coating, I can actually visibly see it under this light panel that's right above me. And like I said, they're very close to each other, so it's not going to translate on camera very well, but they're very close to each other. So if I put these on here, I can immediately tell that this is a lot slicker just moving it around than this. So I'm going to tell you the edge for slickness, but just to show you the way it goes, I'm going to put these a little close to each other, kind of eyeball it. Okay, so that nobody gets a head start. And we'll just lift the hood here. There goes CSL, and there goes Mohs Evo. So you can actually see that Crystal Serum Light is the slicker of the two coatings. In terms of looks, they're right on par with each other. So if you want slickness, Crystal Serum Light's going to be the coating to go with between Gyeon Mohs Evo. The thing about Crystal Serum Light is if once you put EXO on top of it, it loses that slickness, and because you have EXO on top now. EXO's not as slick, but you're gonna get that real hydrophobic layer, because Crystal Serum Light, like I said, it's more sheeting type than beading. So we'll see how these look in comparison to each other, but I just want to give you a quick idea of the slickness of these two. Crystal Serum Light takes over in slickness. Darkening kind of washes each other out because they're pretty equivalent. And so we'll check out hydrophobics next, and we'll see how they perform side by side. All right, so stay tuned for that, and thanks for watching. Hey everyone, welcome back. Don't mind it being all wet here. I was just doing the hydrophobic test on the Diamond Pro Tech coatings. So now I have the red hood out here that has Gtechniq Crystal Serum Light and Gyeon Mohs Evo. So looking at it in this daylight here, Gyeon Mohs is going to win on the darkening ability. So let me take you off the camera, and I'll kind of just show you different views from here. But from this view here, I can actually see the tape line right here, and so I can actually see that Mohs Evo is darker. So as it cured for a week, again, these coatings have cured for a week, Gyeon Mohs has gotten darker. I mean, you can see the tape line from Gtechniq Crystal Serum Light right here, but the darkening is going to go for Gyeon Mohs Evo. So let's go ahead and take a look at the hydrophobics. I have the high pressure nozzle. Just grab this on here, the tip. So let's go ahead and take a look here. So you can see both coatings actually are very good. Let me get a little closer here. Get this hose to cooperate. So you can see both coatings are very hydrophobic. I'm actually going to use both hands here because I got to switch out the nozzle tip, and I'm going to switch over to the shower setting on here. But that looks good. Both coatings do a really good job. From a hydrophobic perspective, I actually got the beads on there. So let me just, that's good. That's good. I actually got the beading there. So let me just go ahead and pop this off, and we'll take a look. Okay, so this is the Gtechniq Crystal Serum Light side. That actually looks pretty good. I think their contact angle is 105, so it actually looks really good. If we pan over to the Gyeon Mohs coating here, the water beading looks a little tighter, but they have the same contact angle as Crystal Serum Light, so they should look very similar in terms of beading, and they do. I mean, just looking at them from this distance here, they look very similar in terms of their beading. So if we go back to Crystal Serum Light here, you can see the beading looks really good on here. So again, just because it doesn't have the most, it's not the most hydrophobic in terms of comparison to other coatings, they still look really good. And Gyeon Mohs is actually looks great too with the darkening ability. So let me put this back on my head here, and I'm gonna go ahead and switch out the nozzle, the tip, because I want to go ahead and get this. Let me get this towel over here, because I want to get this towel a little damp. This one here. And so what I'm going to do with this one is I'm going to put soap on the surface, and we're going to see if we can knock down any of the if there's residual solvent still on the surface. Okay, so I don't need it that bad, but that looks good. So if I throw the shower setting on here, so Gyeon Mohs real fast sheet rate, and I mean they're identical if you're really looking at them. They're very close. So if I do this, they sheet about the same. Yeah, they look very similar. So you can actually see, if I flood it even more, they both do a good job. You can see areas that are not protected with anything, how they do. So let's just go ahead and spray some soap on here. This is still the Luso shampoo. Just shake this. It's been sitting here for a week. I think it's just settled in here because I haven't I should have shook it up. There it goes. But if I keep flooding it with soap, look how Gyeon Mohs just rejects that while it sits flat on Crystal Serum Light. And that's why I kind of lean towards, I mean, they both repel it though when I'm working it through. Look at that. You can see that they both repel the soap really fast. But you saw that once I started to flood CSL with soap, it kind of just lingered on there. But they both do a good job repelling that soap. You can just see it. So they both look the same. They really impacted with the soap here. Let me see if I can shake this up a bit here. So I haven't shaken this up in a week, so let's check it out. Yeah, so once I start adding soap to the surface, you can see that Gyeon Mohs just rejects it more versus Crystal Serum Light that just sits flat. So we're gonna just rub this one more time here. We're not gonna do no wash test, no nothing, none of that business. I just want to give you guys an idea of how hydrophobic these coatings are. So you can see that they're very similar. I'm gonna get the nozzle for the, so I can sheet rinse this, and then I'll show you guys what that looks like. I forgot to bring this over here with me. You can see both coatings very identical, so you'd probably be happy with either one. I think, like I said, Gyeon Mohs is just a little bit more hydrophobic from my experience. And we're talking Gyeon Mohs Evo, not the original Gyeon Mohs. We're just gonna set this up a little bit. Okay. So that's pretty fast. So if I go from an unprotected panel and I flood the surface, it opens up pretty fast. So that's really good. So if I go to CSL and I flood it, again, it's also fast. If I go from an unprotected panel, it sheets really well. And you can see that they're both sheet very similar sheet rate. And it's really, you really can't say how close these are. And you can see that when I sheet them, they basically have no water on the surface. So very, very fast sheet rate for both. Very similar products in terms of their hydrophobic behavior. Very similar sheet rate. Again, they're very similar in here. You really can't go wrong with either one. Like I said, when I use Crystal Serum Light, I think it did good. I think it looks great, and I think it performs very well. I just didn't find it as, the reason I like Sea Quartz better is because it was more hydrophobic than CSL. Especially as it ages, it starts to lose its hydrophobics rather quickly. Gyeon Mohs Evo, from personal experience, is a real nice performer. Gyeon did a fantastic job getting this one right, and it's a definite upgrade from the previous version. I'm gonna go ahead and wipe this off. Maybe we got some surfactants from the soap, but they did a real good job with this version. And I think if you're happy with Crystal Serum Light, then keep using it. If you want to try Gyeon Mohs, just know that it's a very similar coating in its application and its hydrophobic behavior, but it also looks better on the paint. I can actually see the dark square from Gyeon Mohs Evo versus Crystal Serum Light. So I think in terms of depth and look, Gyeon Mohs is probably the better product in that regard. But in terms of performance, I'm going to give it to Gyeon Mohs Evo. I like it better than Gtechniq Crystal Serum Light. You know, I've used both. I've used them as a standalone and long-term testing. I like Gyeon Mohs Evo a little bit more than Gtechniq Crystal Serum Light, but Gtechniq Crystal Serum Light is not a bad coating, so you can't really go wrong with either one. I mean, look at it; they're very, very similar. So yeah, just pick, you know, if you're going to choose one of these, you know, like I said, they're very similar. And you can tell from the beading that they're very, very similar. A little bit more pressure. This is not the right nozzle. Yeah, from the beading, it looks they're very similar. Just looking at the hydrophobic behavior of these, again, they both have the same contact angle 105. They both sheet very quick. Application, as I said, is very similar, but Gyeon Mohs is going to be it for me. If you guys have any comments or questions on any of these two coatings, go ahead and post them down below. If you guys have used both coatings, which is your personal favorite coating to use? If you're using Gtechniq Crystal Serum Light, would you try Gyeon Mohs Evo? And same thing, if you're using Gyeon Mohs Evo, would you try Crystal Serum Light? Again, Gyeon Mohs Evo was aimed to compete with Crystal Serum Light. So again, thanks for watching. And if you have any comments or questions, go ahead and post them down below.